Yay. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Thank y'all for joining us today. So as we're kind of kicking things off, just so you guys know, what we're going to do is we're going to make this very tactical. We're going to run through a lot of material here in the next 30 minutes and really kind of give you guys a top level view of a system that we run that has made all the difference in our business. As y'all know, this is affiliated with MAPS. We are MAPS coaches who are going to be teaching a class that starts on October 18th. So when we're referring to the class, that's what kind of where we're headed with that. But we did want to go ahead and make sure that we were giving you guys a lot of value today and that we're really introducing these concepts that you can go ahead and implement.
And logistically too, feel free to throw any questions you guys have in the chat. However, we're going to save those till the end because you'll see we've jam-packed a lot of information into this 30 minutes. So we will do our best to answer them at the end. And if we don't, I am certain we are going to dive way deeper into all of these concepts on our October 18th launch. So
Great.
As we share our screen, we have kind of a cool concept that I don't know, the client relationship cycle is something that we were sitting on the floor of your office and created in Canva, and it's really helped clarify a lot of communication in unclarity, I guess. It helps create clarity in it.
That's exactly right.
But first,
just as a little recap, guys, this is just kind of the history of our business. I know when you're learning from someone, you kind of want to understand what it is that they're teaching and why. And so this just kind of illustrates the trajectory of our business from 2016. So you can see we've had a lot of growth, and the growth we really do attribute to figuring out a cadence and a system around client and community communication. Last year, we did help 327 families for just over 200 million in volume. So that is who we are. We're in a small town on the coast of North Carolina. Morehead City, North Carolina is where we're located. So we are kind of a second home market. We do work with second homeowners and primary folks.
Absolutely. And we like to say that we show this chart to show that the growth that we've had from 2016 is largely due to email marketing as the backbone of our strategy.
That's
so right. Mary Cheatham, will you kind of fill everyone in on what the client relationship cycle is and kind of the aha that we found with it?
Yeah, I'm sure you guys are familiar with this concept, but essentially just if you'll start at the top right, like at 12 o'clock, you can see that, you guys, y'all are familiar with this, all the work that goes into bringing someone into your business world and, converting them to a client, then to providing them with this excellent experience where they're buying or selling. And then so often, guys, because it's our personalities and it's kind of the way things go as real estate agents, we get distracted, right? And we forget to follow up with that person. And so then if you look at those folks moving forward and you use average commission rates, if they're going to transact business every 7 years, by not staying in touch with them, you're leaving an additional $21,000 on the table every 7 years, right? By not implementing a system around it. Now, this is just for the folks that you actually already have established as clients. So let us show you another graph that illustrates this point. This is another one. I just love this image of, like you push that really heavy boulder up the damn hill. And then it gets to the part where all you've got to do is just set it and forget it, but we don't set it, right? So that's what this is all about, is how do we set it so that, I don't know about you guys, but I used to wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh my gosh, I haven't called that person. I haven't touched base with them. I haven't provided them with any value. Have they forgotten about me completely because I've dropped the ball? So this really relates to all of that.
And you mentioned too, in between those X's that you guys see, that's about on average 7 years. Mm-hmm. So in those 7 years between the time when they're buying or selling, they're not terribly interested in reading about all the listings you might have. So how do you stay relevant to them? How do you provide value to those people is what we're going to talk about today.
That's exactly right. So we're going to stop right here and run through the spoiler alert, guys, is that the way that you stay relevant and in touch with them, absolutely, you want to be making those phone calls and sending the text and making that personal connection. But how do you keep it moving even when you're not physically picking up the phone and calling that person every week, right? And the way you do it is through email.
And what we've established too through our team, and it's taken years of trial and error and really honing in on our systems, but we send an email to our database of 22,000 people every Thursday at 6 p.m. We'll show you guys how we put these emails together. We've systematized it. We've made them fun to look at and full of great content. But what we've done is realize that we receive a handful of inquiries each time we send them out. We track the ROI on them, and we're going to share all of that with you guys.
Yeah.
So first, the value of email. The first thing is there a buffet of information, and I love referring to something as a buffet.
Yeah, it's a buffet
also
of
makes me
information,
hungry.
right? Because it makes me hungry too. So the bottom line is, guys, that there's something for everybody in an email, right? Unlike a postcard or a text or something that's got to be really concise, with an email, you've got a lot of room. You can spread out and include all different types of content, and you can link to different places. So they're really robust in terms of the information that they can provide access to. So you can make sure there's something for everyone in your database, whether they're currently transacting business or not.
There you go. Number two, they're basically free. So it depends on what platform you're using and how you're putting the emails together, but it's fairly an inexpensive way to reach a large amount of people. So throughout this, we use MailChimp. However, we do not discriminate based on your email platform. So whenever we say MailChimp, on accident, just replace it with whatever you use, whether that's Command, Constant Contact,
Right.
Flowdesk, anything. Actually, what we do is we design these in Canva, and then we upload the images into MailChimp and send those out. We'll again show you guys how to do that, but yeah, low cost, high impact.
That's exactly right. They're easily forwardable. Whereas if you receive a mailer, you've got to remember, if I get a mailer that I want Meg to see, I've got to remember to bring it to the office to show it to her, right? Whereas with an email, all you do is hit forward. So we get tons of leads and inquiries from people where they've said, oh my gosh, my sister forwarded me your email because she thought I might be interested in this property. Or, thanks so much for the tip on whatever. I'd love to be added to your email list, right? So it's got legs. Once you're operating an email at a high level, you really are easily growing the folks that you're reaching.
Number four, the insights that emails provide are endless. So again, with print marketing, again, we love print marketing, postcards, magazines, all that stuff. But you can't really see what people are looking at. So through email, you can actually track who's opening it, what they're clicking on. If they click on it multiple times, say there's a specific property and they've clicked on 123 Main Street 5 times, odds are you're going to want to call that person. So no matter what email platform you guys use, odds are that they show you guys those stats on the back end. Admittedly, we used to not track any of that on the back end of our emails. We would send them, cross our fingers that someone might give us a call. But now we've developed a whole spreadsheet where we track week to week the growth and the clicks and the open rate and all that stuff that we'll share with you guys too.
That's right. And then finally, you're not relying on the algorithm.
I love this one.
Yeah, y'all know with social media, I mean, I don't know what percentage, and it varies, of course, depending on the business, depending on your interactions, all those types of things. But, maybe 10% of your followers see any one piece of content that you post, right? Whereas with an email, every single person that you send it to, unless, you go to a spam filter or you have their email address wrong, you're at least going to show up in their inbox. Mm-hmm. So whether they open it or not, every Thursday at 6 p.m., I know that our name shows up in the inbox of 22,000 people. So that's pretty powerful, right? You create the content once and then you're able to hit all those inboxes at whatever cadence you decide.
Absolutely.
So I'll tell you guys, we weren't always every week. We were every month for a while. There was a time when we were just kind of whenever the heck we got around to it. But I think having a cadence to it is really important. And we've set up for you here why email is so effective, but know that we've also figured out exactly what should be in your emails and what they should look like. So we have a template that we follow every week for our emails. And that template actually is something that during our class, we're going to give everybody who takes our class the template so they can customize it for themselves. It's really easy. It's drag and drop. But the point is we figured out what those pieces of content need to be so that you can make sure you're engaging everybody in your database at a high level.
And we're going to share those with you guys today, actually, what those buckets are.
Yep.
But first, we want to, Mary Cheatham always says that, we want to look you in the eyeballs and talk about this next really important part. So Mary Cheatham, question for you. What percentage of people of our database or anyone's database do you think are actually transacting at that moment or interested in buying or selling?
I love to know what do you guys think? Does anybody, if y'all want to drop it in the chat, like what percentage of your database do you think is interested in buying or selling right now? Take a minute and let us know what you think.
I love this question. 1 out of 10, 5%.
So 10%, 5%,
5, 2, 15, 10. Yep. I think y'all are on the exact right track.
I do too. Yeah. I mean, I think even 10% could be high, but I mean, now somebody who might be tracking their property value and interested in the market in general, sure. But yeah, I think y'all are right. So the point is the vast majority of your database is not currently interested in buying or selling. But what do we spam people with as real estate agents, right? It's like, hey, look at my new listing,
Yep.
right? Look at this house that I just previewed. And I think that's interesting, but it can't be everything, right? So what we can tell you guys, yes, we have 4 buckets.
Yep. And the common denominator, and we'll talk about this in a second, the common denominator between what all these people are interested in, odds are the businesses, the people, and the things happening within your community. So what we've determined is that the community bucket, where always including something about your community, is key in every email. However, as real estate agents, we know that we also have to service our sellers, sell our listings, attract buyers. So there were other things we had to include as well. So we developed something called the bucket system, which is essentially 4 categories from which you pull when you need to put an email together.
Right. So guys, just to recap that, we have 4 buckets. You may decide that you need more for your business, however you want to do that. We have 4 buckets, and every time we send an email, we put a piece of content in the email from each of the buckets. Does that make sense?
So there's 4 chunks to our email. I hate the word chunks. I don't know why I just use that.
It's good.
There are 4 sections to our email. One is bucket 1, one is bucket 2, one is bucket 3, and one is bucket 4. Now they change each week what's within each bucket, and they might change the order or whatnot. But those are the 4 things that we always pull from. And we're going to kind of dive a little bit deeper into what those are now.
Yeah. And guys, the reason this is important, I know, speaking of MAPS coaches, our MAPS coach, Jordan Freed, who we love, talks about when you're making your phone calls and you're lead generating, he says, it's not that you're call reluctant, it's that you're value deficient. So you don't know what you're going to say, right? If you knew what you were going to say, you'd call all day long.
Yep.
That's the same thing with these emails, is you don't know what to put in them. Well, this takes the guesswork out. So every week when we're putting our emails together, we say, oh, great. Okay, here, we're going to use this listing. And then we're going to talk about the seafood festival, guys, in our area is this weekend. So that would be our community bucket,
Yep.
right? And then we could talk about a local market stat. I've been fascinated recently that we just did the research, and through the end of Q3, the number of new listings launched in Carteret County is down 15.4%.
Dang.
I mean, I could talk all day long about that stat. What does it mean for buyers? What does it mean for sellers? It's the reason that our prices have been able to maintain, the level that they are, right? It's the reason prices haven't plummeted, because there's so much less inventory than there was this time last year. Okay. And then of course the team and personal bucket is going to be anything, people want to know who you are. They want to understand if they're going to partner with you to buy or to sell, they want to understand the kind of person that you are. They want to relate to you in some way. Do they want to be in a relationship with you? That's the question. So that's just a quick kind of run through these 4 buckets. While we're here on this slide, guys, what I can tell you is we're going to show you some examples of each of the buckets, but just to run back through them. So if you think about including a listing in an email or putting a listing on social media, so often we just say, here's my new listing, right? And you show the
Stats,
photos,
square footage. Yep.
right? Just the stats on it. And let me tell you something, if someone's not buying or selling real estate right then, are they interested in that?
Nope.
They're not. So one of the things we have that we're going to cover in our classes, we have a menu of 15 different ways to present a listing. So it's all kinds of creative things that we do to make it, it's kind of that HGTV effect, to make it so that somebody who's not buying or selling still wants to receive your emails and see the listings that you're presenting.
And still provides them value. I think that's key.
That's
if they're
right.
not
That's
interested
right.
in real estate
That's right.
and they're looking at your listings bucket, they're still going to get something out of it, whether you loop in a small business or you provide a map with what restaurants it's close to or something like that. I love that part about our menu of 15.
Yeah, that's a good one. And
listing.
we'll show you an example. And then just like with the market update that we were just talking about, I think, even if I'm not buying or selling real estate, I'm interested in that fact that the number of new listings is down 15.4%, because I'm making sure when I'm conveying this to you guys, to the folks who are receiving our emails, that I'm explaining, why does it matter to you? Why does, if you're going to hold on to your home forever, why do you care? Right? You care because it relates to your property values. You care because it relates to, folks being able to move to the area. So you really make it relatable. And then I think community and team and personal, we'll show you examples, but those are pretty easy to follow, right?
Yes, absolutely. So here's some screenshots of each bucket in action. These are just from a recent email we sent out. Our listings bucket. This is just one of the more simplified presentations of how we present a listing. Next is the market message. Mary Cheatham will hop into her parked car and batch some of these videos. We'll put our market update into video format where she's, just dropped her kids off at carpool and she's in the car thinking about stats. Then we'll summarize it below. That's just one of the ways we represent a market update. After that, we have our community bucket with our sometimes we'll do a find of the week. We're very new to smoothie bowls here on the coast of North Carolina. So that's an exciting, very exciting thing. So we share that in our email for folks who are interested. And then for our team/personal bucket, we recently moved offices. So we made a little team trip over to see the construction progress and made that our team bucket to both show people that we were moving offices and, love hanging out as a team.
That's exactly right. So I'm just wondering, Meg, could you go back? Let's go back to that listings bucket. I want to point out, because I think the other three buckets they're all really fun and creative, but I think the listing bucket is a place where we all kind of drop the ball, where we don't stop and get creative and think about ways to make it interesting. This is not one of our super creative ones from the menu. This is a very basic one, but what I want to point out is it's very accessible, whether you are currently transacting business or not. And one of the things we love about this is we choose a photo that kind of encompasses the sense of what it is that we're selling. And then we call out a few of the features of it. So just that small thing makes that so much more interesting to folks, makes it, they kind of want to dive in and understand more about this property. One of the things that's really important, guys, is that when you're presenting a listing to people in your database or people on social media, don't forget that what you're doing is you're interviewing to someday be their listing agent.
I love that.
Right? So are you taking pride in the way that you're presenting these listings? Are you pointing out the great features about the house? I mean, the way that you carefully present a listing tells a potential seller client everything they need to know about the way that they're going to be treated and that their home's going to be treated.
100%.
So I think that this listings bucket is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so y'all, as we're wrapping up and before we take a couple questions, just to recap, if you're not using email, start now. They're basically free. They're a buffet of information. It's low cost, high impact. You can reach a ton of people. They're a great way to stay in communication with people who might have closed a month ago or 3 years ago and might not be interested in buying again or selling again at this moment, but it keeps you from waking up in the middle of the night, like you said earlier, and worrying that you haven't touched base with them.
That they might have forgotten who you were. There's a NAR stat, there's a National Association of Realtors stat that says that talks about the number of people who use the same agent, and it's surprisingly low. And when they ask folks why they didn't, they say because they couldn't remember who their agent was.
Oh,
they liked them, they just couldn't remember who they were.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. So and I think the last thing, the content buckets, and we dive really deeply into this during our class coming up on the 18th, but I think that's the thing that holds us back. You're exactly right. You're not the value deficiency part. You're that's what we
found to be true.
Yeah, that's what we found to be true. It flabbergasted me because I was really not consistent with them years ago, but now that we know what we're putting in the emails, we know that those 4 buckets are going in. We have a menu to pull from. Now it makes it like a system every single week. So they get out in inboxes on Thursday at 6 p.m.
Yeah. And let's show them. We want to show you guys like the template. And if you don't want to use our template, if you want to leave here and just take this knowledge and run with it, great.
Yep.
The point is you can create a template just like this one, where all you do is you drag and drop the content in every week.
Yep.
So, and you can also, of course, customize these templates so that you're not using the same one every week or every month or whatever the cadence is. We've had the opportunity, we taught this class to James Shaw's group, if y'all have ever interacted with James Shaw's group, but, and we had some really awesome people take that class with us, and we're on their email list now. So it's so fun. I know I just forwarded Meg one this morning. I was like, look at this cute Halloween email that these people sent out. And it was just using this template. They, the colors are their colors, but they just drag and drop the stuff in there and send it out. And
exactly.
And so we've gotten some great feedback on that.
And to recap, with our next class, you get this template. It's in Canva. Again, it's drag and drop. And then we show you exactly how to export them, then upload them into your preferred mail platform. And then you can rock and roll and be sending these consistently, whether it's monthly, whether it's biweekly, or whether you want to tackle a weekly cadence.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say about this too is that these little components, these little segments of the email are also, I mean, let's be clear, they're social media posts, right?
yeah.
I mean, they're also those translate as individual social media posts. And I think that people worry that you can't use the same content on social media that you put in your emails. And I would argue that you absolutely can, because of that algorithm that we talked about before.
Yeah.
Right. Number one, people don't remember everything that they've seen. That's for sure when they're scrolling. And number two, because of that algorithm, I think to use the same content is really smart. So that way, what you're going to post for your social media. And then you also have got your content for your emails. So it really is a 1-2 punch.
And I think the only two people on the planet that might see both our email and social media posts are both of our mothers.
Yeah.
So
that's probably true.
And if people see it twice, great. They're getting
exactly right. That's exactly right.
So y'all, as a reminder, if you guys are interested, you can read some of the testimonials from the class that we taught with James Shaw. It's the same class. It's just broken up into 8 weeks. It's 6 weeks of instruction, then 2 weeks of very interactive deep dive mastermind. So it will start on October 18th. All of the classes will be recorded and sent out right after with all of the workbooks in case you guys are busy during that time slot. But you guys can read some of those testimonials down. It's the link, the registration links on our website here at the QR code. And then if you guys have any extra questions, feel free to ask away.
Yeah.
Graham, do we have any questions in the chat that kept popping up? Oh, I probably shouldn't have unshared that yet.
Are you good?
Okay, great.
Yeah, there's like 3 or 4. I'm not a trend really, but it started with David would be the first question. David.
Okay. All right. So David's question is community.
Yeah.
Yep, is an interesting bucket, but my database is all over the country. What do you do then? I love this question.
Well, I mean, I kind of want to understand. David, are you here?
Oh,
there you
hi,
are.
David.
Hi, David. So do you do you have expansion teams, or what do you mean? Where do you actually sell real estate? Where are the properties that you sell?
I actually sell in New York, okay, but when you say your database, my database, I have contacts all over,
Yeah.
from here to California. So, and when I send my newsletter out, I send it out to pretty much everybody. Okay, so how do you send an email to somebody that is relevant? If I just want to do my community, that would be one thing, but you guys are sending out to everybody. So same thing with community as well as your stats. Stats don't really, you could do nationwide stats from NAR maybe, but
yeah,
you
certainly could. Well, so David, my answer to that would be, it sounds to me like the tie that binds your database together is that they've all at one point been interested in real estate in New York. Is that right?
Or they just all know me.
Well, and so here's the thing, you happen to live in an area. It's funny because a lot of people that get our emails aren't from here either. And the best compliment we get is, oh my gosh, you make us really want to move there. Right? Or you make us really want to visit there. And so I think I wouldn't get too caught up in that. I would focus on the New York community, things that are there that are local. You've got folks who are visiting there all the time. And then when you're thinking about that community bucket, if you're thinking about a find of the week or a place like a product or something that someone can purchase, we do a lot of that. Make sure you include how they can order it online, and bam, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that would be my advice.
So really, geography doesn't really play that much into your message then. You just
it does not. We focus on this community, even though I would say a large portion of our 22,000 person database does not live here. Nope. And a lot of them probably don't own property here. But they want to, and they're interested in it, and they want to know what's happening at the beach, and they might come here on vacation with their family. But I think it's smart to know that. What is content that would appeal to someone, whether they were doing that or not? Right. So, so for example, if it's a listing bucket, David, then what we might do is we might present the listing. We just did this week where we did the Pantone color of the year, and we repainted our listing virtually with the Pantone color of the year. So that way, if I'm not interested in buying the house or selling the house, it's so cool to see. I didn't know what the Pantone color of the year was, right? Something. But I learned what it was, and I could see the before and after. I mean,
that's cool.
That's interesting content no matter what.
Okay.
All right. You can do that free on sherwinwilliams.com, by the way. You can paint any interior room. Thank you, David. TJ has a question. He said, the format the same in each newsletter and just the content changes? So we've actually figured out the formula in the bucket order that's worked best for our click rate and our well, not necessarily open rate, but so we'll share that with you guys in the class too. So yes, there is a specific order, but you're correct, the content within each bucket changes each week.
And sometimes we have multiple things in the listing bucket or multiple things in the community. I mean, sometimes they're longer than others, depending on what we have
Mhm.
to report, depending on, like I said, this week is the Seafood Festival. So we're doing a guide to the Seafood Festival that's downloadable. So that will be a big part of our community. We always do include a testimonial also in there. That is not one of our 4 buckets, but it's something that we found that we really like to include in our emails. So there are kind of some nuances to it that we can really dive into.
Sure. Next question, how long do you spend prepping each email each week? So again, earlier, years ago when we were sending it very inconsistently, it took forever to put them together because we didn't have this system set up. Now we have a very solid, on Mondays, we figure out what we're putting in each bucket. On Tuesdays, we create that content. Wednesday is editing day, Thursday it gets sent. So it just takes practice. I mean, it took a long time of trial and error and figuring out the timing and how things work, but now we've really systematized it, but keeping it creative at the same time.
Yeah, and so if you're an individual agent and you're doing this yourself, I would really recommend starting out with once a month. I think once a month is a great cadence to send an email out, and you can make sure that it's really strong and that it's great and that it's got really good content in it.
And then the last question I see, I like this one. Philip asked, are there other steps you systematize to stay in contact with your database outside of email? It's a good question.
Yeah, and yes, there are. I mean, there certainly are other steps that we use. As far as we do different events, we do reverse bowl 100s, reaching out to our magazine mailers, but then also, of course, reaching out with phone calls and texts. So yes, there are. But what I would say is the most consistent thing we do is send this email every week.
Yeah. Awesome, y'all.
Does anybody have any questions?
And again, Graham put the link in the chat down below. And also, if you guys want to go to mckremarketing.com/marketing, you can read all of those testimonials from people who have taken this class already. I like to read reviews before I purchase something. So,
and I see Graham also put a coupon code in here. Web15
for 15%
gets you
off.
15% off the registration.
Sweet. Thanks, Graham.
Cool.
Awesome, y'all.
Does anybody have any last questions?
Thank you guys so much.
Okay. Well, we enjoyed it.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, coaches.
See y'all. Hope to see you soon.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.